Hey and welcome to the WildStar All You Need to Know. In this episode you will learn all about the crafting of WildStar and it will start in 3, 2, 1, go! In general, crafting in WildStar is similar to many other MMOs, but if you go into details, there are a lot of cool unique things. At level 10 you are gonna unlock the feature of trade skills, and there's a quest as well as some tutorials to learn the basics. There are 3 types of trade skills: hobbies, gathering skills and primary professions. You can learn every hobby with every character, there's no limitation. However, currently there's only one hobby: cooking. Gathering professions are those which allow your character to collect specific crafting materials. As a miner, you are able to detect minerals on your minimap and mine them. Relic hunters are able to detect relics on the minimap and salvage them. Survivalists are getting more leather, bones, meat or clothes from creatures. They can also see trees on the minimap and cut them down. Each gathering profession has a special tool to collect resources. You can buy them at the crafting voucher vendor in your capital city. You need a better tool for each new crafting tier. However, it's also possible to attack resources with your class skills, but you will get fewer resources and it takes more time. Now the primary professions. Tailor, outfitter and armorer can build light, medium or heavy armor. Weaponsmiths can build weapons for each class. As a technologist you are able to create potions, gadgets, medical supplies and secondary equip. And last but not least, architects, who can create housing decor, fab kits and warplot stuff. Unlike hobbies, you can only learn a maximum of 2 primary and gathering professions at the same time. Because that, most players are pairing a primary with a matching gathering profession. You will see combination tips at the trade skill trainer. For example, weaponsmiths and armorer need ore from a miner, and as a technologist you need relics from a relic hunter. But there's one exception, the architect. As an architect you need a lot of different materials of all gathering professions: wood, clothes, ore and more. Interestingly, you can switch your professions at any time with the help of a trade skill trainer. When changing your professions there is a big advantage in WildStar. You don't lose any progress. If you have been a tailor and have switched to an outfitter, but after a time you want to be a tailor again, you don't have to start as a beginner. All recipes, your progress and talent points will be restored. So, in theory, it's possible to learn all trade skills, but the profession switch has a cooldown. So you can't switch every time you want it. Now let's look at the crafting UI. You can open it by pressing the default key K or selecting it in your interface menu. As you can see there are 3 different tabs: Schematics, Tech Tree and Talents. Let's take a closer look. First of all, Schematics. Schematics are recipes in WildStar and you need them to craft things. On the left side you can choose between all your active trade skills and tiers. All matching recipes will be displayed by clicking on a category. It's also possible to show all recipes which you haven't learned so far, or only recipes which you are able to craft because you have all materials for it. If you select a recipe you can see all important stuff: materials, level requirements, tooltip. So this part of the crafting UI is like a cookbook. By the way, you will unlock most schematics by the tech tree, which I'm gonna explain in a few seconds. There are only a few recipes which you can find in the open world. Cooking and technologists are an exception, as well as the endgame crafting. More on that later. There's no specific trade skill trainer where you can learn more recipes. Let's go over to the next tab, Tech Tree. Depending on what profession is selected in the drop-down menu, you will see your current experience points. As mentioned while talking about recipes, there are crafting tiers. Almost all professions have 6 levels and they only symbolize the level range of items you can craft. That means, as a beginner you can only craft items until 15. By the way, cooking has no crafting tiers. Yeah, it's a little bit strange. Each crafting tier has its own tech tree. Through tech trees you can earn experience points and learn new schematics. Each box in the tree is a mission, and for most of them you have only to craft some items multiple times. If you have done that, you will get experience points and sometimes a new recipe, as well as a crafting talent point, which is symbolized as a blue star at the box corner. Some missions can be done quickly, but most of them require to complete another mission first, which you can see by taking a look at the connection lines. In general, you can earn crafting experience points by completing tech tree missions or simply crafting some items. So you can ignore the tech tree completely if you want, but that's not recommended because you would miss many things. By the way, you will only get experience points if the tech tree mission or the crafted recipe belongs to your current crafting tier. If you are an expert, you won't get experience points for crafting a beginner's chest or something like that. Unlocked crafting talent points can be spent at the third UI tab, Talents. Each primary profession as well as cooking do have a talent tree. Talents are passive bonuses, for example, reduced material costs, more success chunks, or even more variance while crafting. So, how does this system work? You need a certain amount of talent points to unlock a talent tier. Usually, there are multiple talents at one tier and you can only select one at the same time. But some of them will repeat at another talent tier, so take a closer look before you are choosing one. Of course, it's also possible to reset your talent points, but you have to pay crafting vouchers for that. Now you know what professions WildStar offers, how you can earn experience, get new recipes and unlock talents, but that's only the beginning. Let's take a look at the crafting process itself, and for this we need materials. To save space, there is a crafting bag in WildStar which you open via the hammer icon in your inventory. In this special bag all crafting resources will be placed. But it's only possible to stack up to 250 resources. More materials will be placed into your normal inventory if you are gonna reach the limit. By right-clicking on a material, you can also move it into the normal inventory, so you can place it into the bank or trade it with another player. There are 3 types of materials, but for now we only look at 2 of them. Collectible materials can be collected by gathering professions: ore, wood, meat, clothes and other things. At this point I would like to come back to miner and relic hunter briefly. In WildStar there is a random event system for both mentioned gathering skills. For example, as a miner you can meet a giant ore worm under a mineral. By killing this worm you will get a bunch of ore and maybe a tunnel will open, and if you will enter it, you are in a cave full of ore. As a relic hunter, it's possible that a relic comes to life and it will call other elder machines to fight you. Kill all of them and you will get a lot of additional resources. Besides collectible materials, there are purchasable materials as well. You can buy them at many crafting vendors on Nexus and you need them for almost all recipes. For example, as a tailor you need different types of threads depending on the crafting tier. These materials are not really expensive, but they make up the gold zinc of the crafting system. In addition, you can earn both types of materials through the salvaging system. At level 8 this feature will be unlocked and thereby it's possible to destroy almost all items to get some crafting resources out of it. Depending on the rarity, green, blue, purple, etc., you will get more materials. That's all about materials for now. Let's go back to the crafting process itself. For each crafting method you have to be near a crafting station. You can't craft anything in the open world, near a lake while chilling on the grass. Crafting stations are available in almost every big faction base in the capital city, or you can ask a settler for it. Oh, and you can place one as a fab kit on your housing plot as well. So if you stand near a crafting station, you can open the crafting UI and select a schematic. If you have all materials with you, you can start to craft. But there are 3 different methods to craft items. Let's take a look at them. First of all, we have the normal click, cast and get method. You can press the craft button, a bar fills up and bam, the item is in your inventory. Really simple to understand. The second type of crafting is used by cooking, technologists and architects. It's called coordinated crafting and it's like a search and hide game. On the right side of the UI you will see the base product, which you will want to produce. By clicking on the craft button you will craft it and that's it. But there are also variants of products you can craft which are better or different. Especially as an architect you can unlock a bunch of awesome decor items through the variant system. To unlock variants you have to search them in the radar on the left side. To achieve that you can add 3 additives to your craft in the middle of the UI. They are sorted by type or by the direction on the radar. If you hover over an additive, a crosshair will appear which indicates the approximate direction that your uncovering point will go to. Now, if you craft a product with additives, it could be possible to uncover a variant if your uncovering point has been placed on the right position. If you uncover a variant, it will be visible forever. If you have missed the right position, you will receive the base product of your craft, but a shimmering cone will appear on the radar, which shows you the right direction to the nearest variant. At the beginning, this hide and seek game is easy, but with the time it will become more difficult. By the way, you can increase the radius of the uncovering point, either via account unlocks by cosmic rewards and the premium membership, or via catalysts. Catalysts can be found as random drops on Nexus, and you have to add one to your craft at the start. Finally, the third crafting method called circuit board crafting is used by tailors, outfitters, armorers and weaponsmiths. The idea behind it is that you can build a piece of equipment almost completely free by selecting attributes and more. The item level, attribute points and the level requirement for the item depend on the selected power core. With the exception of endgame crafting, power cores are working as followed. For every crafting tier there are 3 different power cores. Each of them has a higher item level and they have different rarities, so white, green, blue, purple and sometimes orange. In addition, they also have a level requirement. You can earn really weak power cores at crafting vendors, better power cores by salvaging items, and technologists can craft the best power core for each tier. Now it's get interesting. Let's take a look at a recipe in the crafting UI. As you can read in the tooltip, there is a maximum level for power cores. You can only select a power core which has this item level or fewer. But how does it work in action? As you can see, by switching the power core, the item level, attribute points and the required character level will be changed as well. So that means you can select a level 50 recipe and place in a level 10 power core. If you craft this item, characters from level 10 can wear it, but of course it has only attributes for level 10. Now that you hopefully understand the power core thing, let's go over to sockets. As you can see, there are different colors for sockets on the crafting board. They can be blue, red, green, brown or white. Depending on the color, you can put in specific attribute chips. In general, that's easy to understand. By the way, the colors of sockets will always be selected random when you start a new craft, so you need a little bit of luck for the perfect item. If you really want to have a specific attribute for an item, you can also select an attribute chip with another color for a socket. But as a result, the phase shanks will be increased. At the bottom of the UI you can see an energy bar which will be filled by putting in attribute chips and the power core. You can change the energy of a socket with the arrow buttons. It's possible to increase the amount of attribute points, but as a result it will also increase the phase shanks of the craft. If you have 1 or more % of phase shanks, the item can be destroyed while creating it. It's also possible to underload a socket and direct more energy into another socket. So, if you want to maximize one specific attribute, you can fill up as much energy as possible into this socket. Finally, there's one last changeable control at the UI. You can see it above the big green craft button. As you know, WildStar items do have a sold and or support power, which indicates if the item is for DPS players or for healer, respectively tanks. If you change the mentioned control, you regulate the amount of support and assault power of the item. And later you can also create hybrid items. By the way, there's no multi-craft in WildStar. If you want to craft an item multiple times, you have to restart the crafting process over and over again. When you start the crafting process, all materials will be removed out of your inventory directly. If you cancel the production before the completion, there will be a notification at the next time starting a craft and you are able to finish the cancelled craft. That's the last chance to save your materials. So, I know, you got a huge amount of information in the last few minutes. You have learned all about the crafting process itself and how to use it. Unfortunately, we are not done yet. I need 2 or 3 more minutes of your time. In your faction's capital city is a crafting area. There you can find all important stuff for trade skills, especially vendors. If you can't find something for crafting, you will find it definitely in the crafting area. Almost every trade skill has daily quests. You can find them at crafting boards in zones, which are optimal for your crafting tier. That means as a beginner crafter you can find quests at the starting zone crafting board. If you are an expert, you will find quests at the crafting board of Grimwald. You only have to create some items for these quests to get crafting vouchers and experience points. Crafting vouchers are the next topic. You can visit a crafting voucher vendor at your capital city and they are really important. There you can buy gathering tools for higher crafting tiers, a couple of gadgets, material bags if you miss something, power cores which are good but not perfect, and the most important thing, endgame schematics for almost every profession. So, let's talk about endgame crafting. As I mentioned before, there are some specials at the last crafting tier, especially for tailors, outfitters, armorers and weaponsmiths. All of these 4 professions are gonna unlock the master tech tree in the endgame. Architects and technologists will get a research tree. With the exception of architects, you can get all necessary endgame schematics at the crafting voucher vendor, but in addition they can drop in veteran dungeons and raids as well. In general, there are 3 tiers of endgame items for every profession which can create equipment. Some of which are on the same level as veteran dungeons, some of which are on the same level as items of the raid genetic archive, and some of which are on the same level as items of the raid datascape. Depending on the level of the item, you can get the recipe and special endgame materials in this content segment. So, it's necessary to play this content to be able to craft things which are connected to this content. But of course, you can buy these things at the auction house as well. Almost all endgame items do have an imbuement. So, first of all, the base craft endgame item is not on the same level as the items of the connected content. You have to unlock the imbuements to power up the item and increase the item level. And of course, you have to play the content for the imbuements again. That means, yes, crafters can create really good endgame items, but you have to play the endgame content to use them. There are also some power cores for endgame crafter, which can be crafted by technologists, and again, for every endgame content level there's one special optimal power core. Veteran dungeons, genetic archive and datascape. Of course, you can put a recap power core into endgame items, but do you really want to do this? Finally, now you should know all about the crafting in WildStar. If you want to hear more about rune crafting, there's another all you need to know video on that topic. So, select your professions, collect materials and craft your own awesome items. Have fun!